just waiting for Sigrid to show up and we'll get started. We're going to be talking about the Gemini full moon coming up and energy and meditation. We're going to explain a little bit into what that means for everybody and what those topics mean to me and Sigrid. Excited for tonight's show? Ooh. Just waiting for Sigrid to pop on. And then her and I will get started. So I'm just waiting for Sigrid to pop on, and we're going to get started into episode 2 of Moon Musings. We'll be talking about the upcoming full moon energies and energy overall and meditation. Well, I see Sigrid is trying to figure out how to pop on as herself instead of as our page, so I can add her. And then we're gonna dig right in. I'm excited. Oh, there we go. Here we are. All right, how the heck?
Hello.
Woohoo! All right, let me move my camera. Yay! All right.
Awesome. Hold on. I'm turning on my Bluetooth so I can hear my phone better.
Gotcha.
I have bad hearing. I should have done this a second ago, but hey, that's all right. I'm here now. All right. So, oh, there we go. Bloop. All right.
No.
Annoying. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. At
Okay.
least.
Sorry, guys. I'm old. I swear, I'm like a boomer. No offense to any boomers. Anyways. All right, we can get started now.
All right. All right. So, I already mentioned before you popped on, I mean, you might have been watching. I told everybody we're going to be talking about the full moon coming up. And then we're going to dive into what energy and meditation. So,
Hold on. I can't hear you at all. I don't know what's wrong.
can people hear us?
Hi, can everybody hear us? Is there any like problems? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Hey, Brandon. Technological difficulties. I apologize, everyone.
Sorry.
Can you help me? I can't hear anything. Like I just can't. I did. I don't know. Say hi to Brandon, everyone.
Welcome, Brandon.
Hello. He's my technical support. I just can't hear anything. No. Why? Oh, do you know where my headphones are? Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, everyone. One day I'll figure out technology. I think it's because I didn't really like grow up with video games or computers. I was just running in the woods my whole childhood. So now I'm at a loss when it comes to computers.
It's a good.
Thank you. I love you so much. You're the best. Save the day. Woohoo. Yeah, well, we'll see if it works. All right. Say something.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, finally. Thank you.
Yeah. All
Mhm.
right. Now we can
Awesome.
probably like shift your camera. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cool. All right. Let's get into it then.
All right. So we have the full moon in Gemini coming up, and it like actually peaks early morning on the 30th Central Time. So
I'm excited for this full moon.
I like
I,
Gemini energy, but the full moons, man, when they happen, I end up staying up all night. Like my mind just is like brrr, the whole time.
yeah, that, that makes a lot of sense. You're also Gemini moon, or Gemini sun, I mean.
Gemini Mercury.
Mercury, that's right.
Yeah,
Sorry
so
about that.
actually this full moon is right on my Mercury and my vertex is there too, so maybe that's
Ooh,
got like sun because they say it's kind of like your second ascendant, but I'm not gonna try and get into the technical aspects of everything.
that's fair, that's fair.
Let's dive into the Gemini full moon. So what do you want to talk about with that?
Well, lately I've been noticing like a weird influx in like spirit elemental energy. And so I wanted to just like take some time to like talk about meditation and why it's so important and like why we need to strengthen ourselves and also like be aware of this energy that's happening because it's kind of scary. Ooh, there goes my camera. It's kind of scary sometimes.
Right, like
So,
I know with the full moon coming up, there's a lot of confronting like the philosophies and the ideas and the trauma that happened during our foundations that created our values.
mhm,
So now we're kind of coming to face like, wait, what are my values? Like something potentially through this energy is going to shake up our idea of what we value and force us to look at value on a soul level rather than a material value. But it doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to come easy either.
right. Yeah, I definitely am getting this sense that there's like a build up to a really strong energy that's kind of like neutral in a way. It
Right.
could turn into something good, it could turn into something bad. We just don't know yet, but it's like this massive like leveling up, I feel personally.
I think that that neutral aspect has a lot to do with like what comes out of that has a
Mhm.
lot with like you were saying strengthening ourselves and being prepared. I think we're our intentions, where we're focused, what our vibration is going to create the end result of that, like on
Right,
or negative in
right.
level.
I found that Gemini energy is incredibly potent for like manifesting things.
Oh, yeah.
Since like Mercury is it's not only like communication, it's the consciousness. I feel like it just rules manifestation and like thought-based magic and
Well, I
happenings.
think especially with the full moon, you have, you know, the Gemini versus Sagittarius energy. And Sagittarius definitely, stirs up that connection on a deeper level, the way that those two energies work together through the full moon. And so,
Right.
exactly as you're saying, you have the potential for like magical healing, especially right now, and facing, really, it's a lot of looking at your foundational beliefs and really coming into perspective, like, is there value in what I've been taught?
Hmm.
And that's a big deal.
It's kind of funny. My boyfriend Brandon, who made a short cameo, he's got his moon in Gemini in the eighth house, and like I've noticed we've kind of gone through a similar like deconstruction and then reconstruction of our own philosophies on spirituality and whatnot, because you know we both came from like completely opposite
Right.
backgrounds as far as faith goes, and it's been really interesting, you know, to see how we're rebuilding this new perspective together. And in a way, because like we're both mercurial Scorpios, right? I'm Virgo, he's Gemini in this, you know, dynamic. And it's there's like a twin aspect with us in a way where it's like we share a similar mind, and you know, but like we're different, we have autonomy, but at the same time we like meet in the middle with this weird mercurial Scorpio blend.
I love that way that the Virgo Mercury meets with the Gemini Mercury energy, because they
Hmm.
are that mercurial kind of, like rapid thought, like the processing of information. But the way that that Earth Virgo energy matches with that air energy, they both bring in such a unique, like, I don't know, output of mental energy. It really is dynamic. I love that. I love that. And
Hmm.
um I was gonna say too, you said his moon is in the eighth house in Gemini. That's exactly where the moon falls during the peak of the full moon. And so it's the full moon in Gemini in the eighth house. So that's why I brought up that philosophy, and your example is a perfect comparison to how it plays out.
That's so crazy. I didn't even know that. I've gotten like way out of touch with the planets, not gonna lie. I still know when things are happening, but it's more of like an intuitive sense. It's not like I'm looking at the charts and I'm like, okay, this aspect is what's causing this thing to happen, et cetera, et cetera. I at any given time, I probably know where the moon is, and that's about it.
I love
Uh,
the deepest, but I do love looking at charts and
yeah,
following all of that when I need to. I don't do it all the time. I used to do it obsessively, but I don't know.
right.
Gemini is
I
follow all the details.
I love charts, admittedly. They're so wacky. And I love like when someone uh like asks you to do their chart and then you pull it up, that face they make when they first see a
Right.
natal chart. It's like, what?
It is crazy. Um, but back to the full moon dynamic. This is a really good full moon to open up to messages and to really, like, if you get a new idea, to write it down. You can even try like channeling, like automatic writing, where you sit and you don't think about what you're writing, you just let it come out of, and see what comes out through this full moon, because that Gemini energy it's very mental energy. Messages come through, and you're getting communication, not just internally but also from the outside, which
Hmm.
a lot of people really get a pull to be like really social during Gemini moons, which is kind of tricky with this during the pandemic and all of that. So,
Right. Something like building off of the mental Gemini energy thing. I feel like something to keep in mind is that like we need to slow down the mind to get these messages, you know, and to hear what we need to hear and experience what we need to experience. And like that's so hard. It's so funny. This Gemini moon is kind of like a double-edged sword in that way, I feel, because it's like it makes our minds hyperactive, but then at the same time, to really unlock the potential of this transit and this placement, you have to be able to slow down your mind and like put a pause button on that. I feel like a lot of people misinterpret how to meditate, and I hope that we can like kind of
Yeah,
clear that up a little bit tonight.
let's dig into that. Let's start into that because it is really important for this moon energy that's coming up. We picked the perfect topics to apply for.
Yeah. We just like kind of did that. Like I remember we chose the topic after the last one without like really a second thought. We are just like, hey, we should do it about this. And, okay. And it happened.
And it
Funny
fits.
how things fall into place.
Yeah. All right, so into meditation. I want you to start talking about it because I remember you wrote that blog too, and
Yeah.
started diving into some of this, and you were so on point with how I feel about it too. So,
Cool. That, that's good to know because sometimes when I write my blog, it feels like I'm just kind of throwing like messages in a bottle into like a void and nothing comes back out. And I'm like, should I keep doing this? But it feels important, so I keep doing it. The blog in question, if anyone's curious, it's called something along the lines of tips on meditation from someone who's bad at meditating, which is me. I'm very bad at meditating. I will admit I've never been super focused with it. Um, and even to this day, like I won't lie, I don't sit and do like deep contemplative meditation every single day. I do it as often as I can, but the majority of my meditation is like moving meditation and like just general wakeful awareness of myself and my own body. Uh, so there's like a couple different ways to do meditation that I've found. Moving meditation, as I said earlier, and then the deep contemplative meditation, which is, the more traditional, like Buddhist monk kind of meditation where you sit with your eyes closed and hands in a mudra or something, and you just sit and not think about anything. It's not easy to do that. And honestly, it's okay. Hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. It's not easy to do it, but it is necessary to do it, as often as you can. You don't have to be super dedicated to it to like get something out of witchcraft, but like let's put it this way. The more practiced you are at that kind of meditation, the better you will be able to do spell work. In my blog I described it as being like pulling an arrow back, and if the arrow isn't straight, it won't fly forward. If it's bent, it'll just fall to the ground. And your mind is like the arrow. If you can like make this arrow straight as possible, it will fly farther and faster. It's kind of that was used in like the connotation of spell work, but I feel like it also applies to life as well.
oh, absolutely.
What kind of meditation do you do regularly?
So for me, I have actually, I try to every time I take a shower, first of all, that's meditation to me. That's especially when I get caught up in everything in life and I forsake meditation. That's the one guaranteed time that I take for myself. And I spend a lot of time in the shower and I'll sit on the ground even and I just breathe and just let the water flow. And I feel the water, and I feel the warmth. And to me, just being present in that and being grateful for that, I feel connected again and I feel revitalized. Every time I get out of the shower, I feel refreshed and I'm always like, oh, that was the best shower ever. That was the best shower ever. But it brings a gratitude in the rest of my life just to have that moment. But when
Right.
I grew up, I Laura would take me on like visualization guided meditations and she taught me like breathing and yoga and um, so I started doing like the contemplative meditation a lot, but most of that would take me on this visual journey,
Mm-hmm.
And when I would start to write out what would come to me, and realizing like there was a lot more to it, the things that I began to understand and put together that came through those visualizations, it wasn't necessarily a message that someone told me. It was the visuals, the symbolism, the places I was brought. Like they
Mhm.
all had deeper meaning that connected bigger ideas in my life. And like you said, end up carrying over. I
Quick
think,
interjection. I like how you said that it wasn't a message, it was more of like pictures.
right.
That's what we're talking about when we talk about like psychic messages or like intuition. I feel like there's this idea that it's like you hear a voice in your head, like Joan of Arc or something. That's not usually how it goes. I mean, it can be like that.
Times.
It can be like that sometimes, but usually it's like mental pictures. It's like dreaming while you're awake. That's how I've always said it in the past.
And that could be, I mean, it can be so powerful. And some people can't even really do that and go to a visual space. And even like, taking time to sit and create in whatever medium a person prefers, painting, drawing, even if you're just scribbling on a paper,
Hmm.
have things come through you that you don't even realize. You're meditating, you're focused, being present in the moment, in the space that you're at, even just sitting with yourself somewhere and feeling, you know the texture of the blanket you're sitting on, smelling the air, looking around you and just thinking about the colors that surround you, the shapes. These are all things that you can do to meditate. You don't even have to try and clear your mind. You just be present.
Right. You know, I remember, so I used to suffer, I mean, I still do have anxiety, but I used to have really bad anxiety to the point where my hair would turn white and fall out of my head. I was so anxious. And there was an exercise that my therapist gave me, which was to go down the senses, right? So you look for 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can taste, and 1 thing you can smell. And then that grounds you in the moment. This is an excellent exercise for like slipping into meditation as well, I feel. After you see the 5 things, you close your eyes and you just like count down and feel yourself in the present moment. That's really the key, is just it's not to stop thinking, it's to like just be present in the moment and focus your thoughts entirely in that moment. And if a thought about something else comes up, you just like take that thought, crumple it into a ball and put it away, instead of like, I just don't think about anything. You like put away the other thoughts and you focus your thoughts in the moment.
In the moment. It takes practice
Hmm.
to get there, especially if you've never done it before. You know,
Right,
exactly what your therapist taught you is a perfect way to even start, you
right.
know, and you don't even
Um,
think about it as meditation.
do you have any like suggestions for like movement meditation? Because I know that you do a lot of like dancing and performing in that way.
I do. I love to if you just put on even just your favorite music, it doesn't matter what kind of music, and just let your body completely flow to that. And just, you don't have to, just don't think about it. Be by yourself and just let it flow. And that, honestly, no matter what kind of dancing you're doing, I find it very meditative. You,
Hmm.
that's why, like people who go out dancing, they have so much fun, and it breaks them away from, the doldrum of the week that they just went through. And then they go out on Friday night, go dance, and then they feel great. And it's great exercise. It gets you breathing deeper.
Hmm.
One of the keys to meditation is that deep breathing. When you can get your breath where the in breath is 7.5 seconds or longer, and the exhale is also 7.5 seconds, and you can keep that rhythm,
Hmm.
then you put your brainwave state into like almost like a dreaming state, if you can hold that rhythm. And you just have to slow it down and realize it doesn't matter if you're rushed. You don't have to rush your breath. Slow it down. And then once you can keep that, you relax your mind and you bring yourself there through a biological way, you know?
Hmm. I wish I liked dancing. I can only I can only dance on very rare occasions, but it looks like on the times that I have been able to, it's a very moving kind of feeling, and it is like transcendent in a way, you know, you're like no longer just a human. You're my favorite example of this is, I guess it's not really dancing, but it kind of counts. It's mosh pit at Metallica. It was the craziest like feeling of energy I've ever had. It was like it reminded me of like a kelp forest on the ocean floor when there's like a hurricane, and so like all the kelp's like moving around. I felt like I was part of something much bigger, you know? I feel like dancing is such a core element to human spirit and energy.
and it and that's, you know, that's actually a great segue into talking about energy overall.
Hmm.
Like you were saying, you feel like the kelp in the hurricane swaying, and that's a part of the vibration of everything that energy is. And meditate taps you into how it is all connected. You know, being in the present moment, being able to perceive all of that with all of your senses. You're tapping into energy that you can't necessarily, that doesn't necessarily come in a tangible form, because you can
Right.
smell, you can't see the particles that you smell, but you know, or the way that they're coming toward you. That's all in how the rhythm of the energy of everything being connected is.
Hmm. I feel like we should clear up what we mean when we say energy, because people might think that we're talking about like electricity or like, you know, Wi-Fi or something. I don't know. I feel like people get confused a
Yeah.
little bit because it is kind of an ambiguous term, and I feel like there are a lot of like, I call them crunchy new agers. That might not be the nicest term. I don't know. But like people who glob on to a certain kind of mob mentality within spirituality. It's the same kind of people that have like positive, like toxic positivity, you know, that kind of thing. And like same with quantum. It's like that word has just been used into oblivion, and so now no one takes it seriously anymore. But when we're talking about energy, we're talking about, it's like a web, like a nexus of energy that connects every human. And, you know, I'm sure we've all had that experience where we walk into a room and we know immediately that the people in the room were talking about us, or we like just have a feeling that we're going to get a call, and then we get a call, you know? That's what we're talking about. It's like this invisible sort of net, a web that connects all of our minds. And Gustav Jung actually had a concept about, you know, the collective subconscious that, you know, connects all of us through the spirit, through the dream state. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, kind of adding my own spin on it, but I mean, if you read Jungian psychology and theories and stuff, he really does put quite an emphasis on like archetypes coming through the subconscious and like worldwide connection. And like meditating and spell work is to tap into that.
Harnessing the web.
Yes, exactly. I feel like everyone has the ability to do it, but not everyone is meant to or wants to. But that's okay, you know.
It's whatever you feel, you know. I mean, that's the other thing too that we wanted to touch on is about the cycles as well.
Mm.
Energy ebbs and flows. It's
Oh gosh.
like that, constantly moving.
Oh man, it just spilled all of my oil.
Oh no.
I had like a little altar set up. I like to do that every time we hold on, there's candle wax on my phone. I like to set up like a little altar and burn a candle and stuff for our podcast, but my phone decided to flop over when I got a notification and I spilled all of my oil. That's all right.
Well,
So it goes.
you know,
What were we talking about?
talking about how energy is always flowing and moving, and so it's always ebbing and flowing. And so there are times where we feel more connected, and there are other times where we need to step back.
Yes. That's another we were saying earlier today when we were chatting about the podcast. We both feel like perhaps a lot of the reason behind people not following through with a meditation practice is feeling like they need to be on constantly and that you need to be like constantly doing this meditative state. And yes, consistency is good,
Absolutely.
but I feel like to really be a witch and like to really harness these energies, you don't necessarily right off the bat have to have a super disciplined practice. I feel like it's something that you can very easily just ease yourself into, you know? And we forget that sometimes. You see all sorts of books where it's like you need to start practicing meditation like 6 times a day. And, you know, I feel like it gets uh, intimidating. And I feel like, you know, we're not scientists, we're just regular people. And I feel like if we can inspire other regular people to start meditating as well, it's going to really change a lot of lives. Changed my life.
Changes my life. It's always changed my life when especially when I do develop a consistent practice with it. You know, I've done times where I would do, full visualization, hour-long meditations daily.
Mm-hmm.
The things that start to come through, the way it develops and progresses and evolves as you do that, and how it the way that it carries over into your daily life, like you become more present, you start to enjoy and see things with gratitude more often than with frustration.
You know, I actually heard something really crazy not long ago. I listened to a podcast called Third Eye Drops. It's on Spotify, and I just started listening to it. But he actually talked about how professional meditators are like, there's some evidence to show that they're maybe influencing the timeline. Like it's crazy stuff. I'm gonna butcher it because I'm not a scientist, but they're like real people are studying this phenomenon and really like seeing scientifically that it's affecting,
That's exciting.
like, yeah, like the world is being affected if by every single person that's meditating. Even if it's small, it seems as if, you know, there is a ripple effect on the whole world just by one person meditating.
That comes back full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning about this energy that we're coming, where it's peaking and it seems very neutral because it could go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us, the people who are watching right now. Even it's up to you. I'm, even in asking for you to give it a shot. Try
Mm-hmm.
try to become still in the present and try to. I think one of the most beautiful ways you can connect to that positive energy is seriously just focusing on love. How you feel when you love something, just feel that all throughout you and just focus on that for a little bit, even if you can only hold it for 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful frequency and vibration.
Yeah. Brandon just texted me the name of the scientist
Yeah.
that talks about like how professional meditators are influencing the timeline. Hold on. There is still candle wax on my phone. Okay, so his name is Dr. Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. So if anyone is interested in learning more about that, it's Dr. Dean Radin. Remember. Also, I heard it on the podcast Third Eye Drops. So if anyone's curious about that, I really like uh, I really like what you were saying though about meditation. Hold on, there is so much candle wax on my phone. It's driving my Virgo placements mad right now. Screams in Virgo. Ah! Okay, there we go. That's good for now.
So I think it's important for us to try and hold as much of that energy as we can, because as we come to this energy, we're going to manifest what happens on the other side of that.
Right. I agree. Um, it's kind of crazy to me how many people seem to be waking up to this energy, you know? It's like I remember being like ridiculed as a young person, just completely ridiculed. People thought I was insane. People thought I was schizophrenic. People thought all sorts of things about me that weren't true. I was just kind of weird and socially awkward and could do things that weren't really normal at the time. But now it's like more people are seeing that it is actually normal. This is something that we all possess, you know? And this full moon is kind of like driving us to it. We're returning to sort of like a more primal way of being. I feel like in general, we're just aware of like all the lies we've been told now, and there's this new curiosity that's just eating at people, and everyone wants to know how they can better themselves this way.
I love that. That's perfect. That's perfect. And it
Hmm.
really is, if you consciously harness the energy of what you want to release for this full moon, there's a potential to harness like truly a magical healing. Like there's really a deep magic in the air through this energy that we're going through.
Hmm. I feel like a good way to do that, something that I have done in the past and will probably do every so often until the day I die. It's like a ritual, I suppose, for getting rid of negativity and like old things that I want to let go of, whether it be old relationships or bad habits, that sort of thing. But basically, what I do is I take a bunch of scrap, like I'll make a list first of what I want to release. And I take a bunch of scraps of paper, like one scrap for each thing on the list, and I write it down. You can get as creative as you want. You could do you could write it in runes, you could make a sigil if you want, you could just write the word, doesn't matter. But you put that, you like visualize yourself putting whatever it is into that scrap of paper. You like hold it in your hands and like feel the energy of the thing that you're trying to release go into the paper, and then you burn it and scatter the ashes. Or you could flush it down the toilet if you want. I've done that too. But sometimes you can't burn things, so you got to make do with what you got.
Gotta do
But
that.
I feel like that's like the most basic spell you could do, or ritual or whatever.
Powerful,
Mm,
powerful.
right. Sometimes, I guess most of the time, I would say less is more with spells, because like, say you're making, I don't know, like a protection jar, and you're adding like 7 different herbs, like 6 crystals, all sorts of stuff. You will forget what the energy is, and I don't know. So for some people that works. For me, less is more.
I agree. Simple to the point.
Hmm.
And really, I think it's all personal. I
Yeah.
think it's personal to everybody. You know, you have to follow your intuition, learn how to into that and learn how to intuition.
I feel like when people want to learn about witchcraft, they're always like, well, teach me about spell work. How do spells work? What's
Right.
magic? And it's like, do you know how often I do magic? Like, rarely. I
Right.
really don't. You know, like in the sense that people think like big fancy rituals with like a huge altar and magic words and I'm waving a sword around. I do that sometimes, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
But like that's not spell work is so subjective. Like you really don't have to do that ever if you don't want to. But, you know, I feel like if you want to learn about witchcraft, for one, now is like a really good time to get into it and start realizing your own ability. And then for two, focus more on yourself, like get yourself in order first.
That's
Getting
why
what was that?
the meditation is important.
Yes, meditation. But also like diet, I feel does
Yeah.
help a lot. If your brain and your stomach are completely connected. I think your stomach, I read somewhere that your stomach is responsible for like 97% of serotonin production. Like
I
it's a startling amount of serotonin that the stomach produces.
gotta get that right.
Yeah, so eating healthy is really, I'd say maybe even a step before meditation. You'll find that you focus better too if you eat well. And
I
eating well, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say I always look at the body almost as like an antenna
Mm.
and have it in tune with your nutrition. Then you're gonna pick up on more. It's gonna be more focused and direct the what you receive through you and what you create.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I have this theory that all psychic phenomenon is just bioelectricity because we're basically just sacks of blood and meat and electricity. So why wouldn't it? I mean, it just makes too much sense to me to not be right. Scientists have found a magnetic kind of substance that exists in our brains, but it also exists in the brains of migrating animals like deer and birds, et cetera, et cetera. And scientists actually do believe that this magnetic substance is what helps birds migrate, and we have it too. That's not, I'm not a scientist, so you know that's not to say that this is what causes psychic ability and we all are like secretly geese or something, but I feel like magnetic forces and electrical forces have a great bearing on our
I,
psychic ability.
I agree. I think that has a lot to do with astrology and how the planets and everything affects us as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you know this, but the planets actually give off radio waves that make sound. Like
Yeah,
if you use a special machine, you can like hear them and you can actually go on YouTube and listen to the planet's sounds.
I know. You
It's
guys
so weird.
are weird.
I would highly recommend it as meditation music if you're feeling extra spacey. It's a good one because it's like stimulating enough that you don't fall asleep, but then at the same time, it's like spacey and vibey enough that you can relax your mind to it pretty well. But there's no real melody. You know, it's not music, it's just sounds. So if you're not into that,
Might not be for you if you're not into that.
right.
Yeah, I'm excited for this full moon energy. I think
Hmm.
it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how this hits us all.
Yeah, I am too. Seeing like the news. I mean, I don't like watch the news a whole lot, but once in a while it'll pop up and it will coincide perfectly with weird astrological transits. So it's really been kind of fun seeing that. Like fun in a grim way. Like I'd rather laugh about it than cry about it
Right,
most of the time.
right. I get it. I get it.
Does
Got
anyone in the audience have any questions? Maybe. It's okay.
Not unless it's a really deep, thoughtful, long-worded question.
Yeah, that's all right. What else? Did we have anything else we were going to talk about?
I think those were our main topics. We kind of broached on those.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited. Uh, I don't know. Yeah,
Cool. How long have we been talking?
I don't
Oh
know.
heck, it's almost been so 7:15 right now where I'm
Like
at.
5 minutes. Yeah,
Cool,
nice.
cool.
Woohoo. I mean, we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but
We will probably have more next time too. Not
well,
gonna lie.
it's also building up to that Gemini energy too, and that can. Oh, how do you ground yourself in the meditative moments?
Ooh, a good question, Sydney. How do you do it?
Um, I think breathing is important for me when it comes to grounding, and just feeling my breath, focusing on my breath, and
Hmm.
me back to a calmness if ever there's a disruption.
Hmm. Breath is probably, I would agree, one of the more important things with grounding, because if you're like hyperventilating, you're not going to ground yourself very effectively. Um, in a lot of like Eastern philosophies, I know that the chi, the life energy exists like in the dantian around your belly button. It's you're supposed to breathe into the lower belly, and that like fills your body with like life force energy. That's it's like where it's all stored, you know. Um, I I personally, when I meditate, feel a lot of physical sensations. When I do spell work, and like part of my gifts are just like feeling energy physically with my hands and my feet as well. So when I ground myself, um, my body gets really heavy, and if I'm sitting or standing, whatever part of me is touching the ground or the floor, it's like I feel roots like growing down into the earth. And the the key here for me, I connect myself to the center of the earth. So like I feel my own awareness move down my feet and into the center of the earth. And then I connect the 2 points, my feet and the earth, you know. And I just like breathe, and I kind of imagine like the negative energy like swirling out of me down my feet like a filter. And then I breathe in my own energy. I call my own energy back from wherever I've been that day. I call it back to me into my center and breathe it in. And I imagine it as like white light, and I like fill my lungs and my dantian with the life energy, and then breathe the negative back out into the earth. It kind of I feel like I become like a tree or a plant when I ground myself.
I like that. I've done that too. That's a really beautiful way to do it, and I think
Hmm.
that I mean I think it's true to our energy and how we do connect to the earth and the energies around us. So
Hmm. Um, Crystals are also pretty useful for like grounding. I tend to use like tourmaline.
yeah, that's a perfect one.
Hmm.
Red jasper is also good.
Oh, I love red jasper. Red jasper is so pretty.
It is pretty, and it's I love I don't know. I've just always loved how grounding it feels to me, especially I don't know. It just taps into that root chakra energy, and you just feel sturdy.
I find that like red stones, it, I have a hard time finding like good red stones that aren't dyed.
Yeah,
It's so
I
hard
like
to find them.
I like yeah. That's why a jasper can be okay. I like finding them in nature. I always find them out in nature.
Mm.
And, you know, they're naturally red,
Yeah,
especially
that's fair.
and stuff. You find a lot of red stones.
Does anyone else have any questions that they would like answered?
think there's only one person watching.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Well,
But
if what were you gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say if no one has any questions, I think we've covered about everything.
yeah, I think I have everything is on my notes. I have my notes again. Woo-hoo.
Nice. I didn't bring any notes.
I like it though, but I had a good time. I think
Yeah.
the Gemini energy is a little chaotic, so things went a little crazy because we're building out to that full moon energy. But
Mhm.
yeah, overall, I think we got our points across. I hope everybody gives meditation a try in whatever form they feel is going to work for them.
And in the next episode, we could answer, like, if you watch this and it's no longer the live stream, you can, like, ask us questions the next time around. I'm sure we'd both be okay with answering, like, messages as long as they're appropriate.
Right.
Don't be sending me inappropriate messages. Please and thank you. I've had enough. But yeah, if anyone like has any questions, I know that I'm usually free to answer them, like
Yeah, you can
just
come time and ask questions, and we can either cover some of those answers in the next one or just even respond. And
right. Because this is still a work in progress, this is only our second ever episode, so we're kind of like figuring it out as we go.
but
But yeah.
I hope that you guys come back around for the next episode. We're gonna let you guys know what the topic will be, and we'll dig in next time.
Oh, you are going to be reposting this on your YouTube channel, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool. I will be sure to share that on all of my platforms when that is posted and ready for viewing. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hi.
Hi, YouTubers.
All right. Well, I say good job, good game. High five.
Have a
See
good
y'all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night. Love you all. Bye. How